You like Asians? Don't lie to me. I searched your browser history. Do you like overly sexualized killers, particularly women that use their body to kind of get to a man? Good. Do you like dumb action movies with cheesy dialogue, but with women wearing booty shorts just like Laura Croft going all the way up to their ass cheeks? Then congratulations, I got the perfect dumb action movie for you today. So we're talking about Naked Weapon, starring Daniel Wu, Maggie Q, and a couple of other Asian actors that I don't know. Sorry about that. But here's the thing about Naked Weapon. Now, I didn't really know what to expect going into this thing, but I gotta admit, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Now, just like you, probably looking at the thumbnail, I actually thought this was probably an Asian porno when somebody recommended this to me. But I don't do that. Not on Saturdays. Sunday mornings maybe, but not Saturdays. Here's the thing about this. The basic plot of this thing is pretty much about these women, pretty much around 12 years old. They eventually get abducted by this woman from their parents, pretty much to bring them to an island in order to be killers. Those killers that they eventually will grow up to be are pretty much pitted against one another, and then eventually a fight to the death. Three people kind of survive, and they all become assassins, while one cop is actually trying to track them down for the last 6 years. Now, a lot of mayhem kind of ensues and a lot of dumb stuff kind of happens just in general. Now, overall, this was actually a very fun, interesting type of movie for the most part, at least for the first 40 minutes or so. One of the better parts of this entire movie is actually kind of towards the 40 minutes, as I said, is kind of seeing all these girls kind of taken. Particularly, there was a girl at the very beginning, which I believe is Maggie Q's character, and she's like fighting. She gets abducted, just right off the street and then brought to the island. You see all these girls kind of getting the training from the fighting, whatever it may be. It's kind of like a Jason Bourne thing. And honestly, it's probably how a Black Widow movie should actually be. Just seeing them kind of abducted, no background, no nothing, and then they eventually become killers. I liked seeing them showcasing not only how to like take out a guy's skull or like take out his vertebrae or whatever it may be, using a skeleton for an example. I like to see that, specific kill tactics for the most part. On top of the charm school, where it's like showcasing what type of wine or how to model to use your sexuality pretty much for a weapon. Now, a lot of people kind of complain about, well, what does the naked weapon title actually even mean? It pretty much is referring to the fact that these women can actually be quite deadly with or without clothes. Some people cannot be deadly with a gun, but these women are deadly with no clothes on or with clothes on. It doesn't really matter. That's pretty much what it kind of comes down to. Now, the acting in this movie is actually quite good. I think Maggie Q does a pretty good job. The chick that plays the madam, I thought she was actually good. I'm not sure if she's being dubbed or not. I did like the relationship between Maggie Q and her friend, even though it was very obvious that this movie has a violent tone to it. But it also has a little bit of a lightheartedness to it, which I actually kind of really did like, which is kind of weird to say because there are some violent stuff in here. Not too badly, but it was slightly lighthearted. But it was very also obvious that Maggie Q and her friend very much had a very, lesbian type of undertone to it. So if you like seeing Maggie, Q getting washed up in the shower by another Asian girl, then congratulations, you're going to get the perfect type of movie for you. Now, overall, I like the action in this movie. I think the movie has some pretty good action. Not the best action in the world. It's over stylized and it's a little bit maybe over dramatic in some cases. But then again, this came out 2002 and pretty much every movie was trying to do either Crouching Tiger or even The Matrix at around that time, so I don't really blame it. The action does kind of get a little bit dumb, particularly one fight between Charlene, Maggie Q's character, inside of her mom's house, and it starts to look like these assassins are starting to get like superpowers, throwing glass, flicking the shit. It just becomes completely dumb. Daniel Wu's character, it might as well just be called CIA Agent Exposition, because the dude is practically just moving across the plot or even telling you what is pretty much happening to kind of keep the thing going. And that's kind of the next problem just in general is that I feel like there's not really much of a plot. Other than, like I said, the assassins, these girls being abducted, being trained to be assassins, and then this cop trying to get them, that's legitimately the plot. There's nothing else really to it. And sadly, that kind of makes the film kind of feel a little bit irrelevant. There's this one scene that is a rape scene. A lot of people kind of complain about the rape scene, which was very awkward just to begin with. Not the rape scene per se, but the fact that right before they were each trying to kill each other, and then right after they had like wine and shit, like nothing happened at all. And then the madam, which is kind of like the head boss bitch, she drugs them. These guys kind of come in and rape. People kind of complain about the rape scene, but it makes sense, sort of, for the most part, because the madam said that you pretty much have to sometimes do sexual things that you may or may not want to do against your own will in order to get to the target. So therefore, that's kind of what it was showcasing for the most part. So I actually enjoyed seeing her methods come to work. Not necessarily I don't enjoy seeing people get raped. Rape's bad, people. Don't rape. But that's just a simple case, just in general. Now, overall, I do feel, and also the dudes in that entire scene was like tagging each other in. It's like, high five, I'm in, let me fuck this bitch now. That's exactly what it was doing. And it almost kind of felt like the scene kind of came out of nowhere. And maybe that was the entire point, but it did kind of feel like it didn't necessarily need to not be there. It just probably could have been handled a little bit more differently, just in general. But overall, I actually enjoy, seeing the assassin kind of at work here, because I thought it was actually a pretty well done thing, just in general. Now, for me personally, I just feel like also they missed a big opportunity, because the madam eventually does get killed, which is obviously a spoiler. And I feel like it just doesn't really make any of the plot at the very beginning, which her deal was to say, you work for 5 years and then you could possibly earn your freedom or whatever it may be. So therefore, it kind of becomes a little bit irrelevant towards the end, and the story just kind of falls apart. The story does get dumber and dumber as it kind of gets along. One of the dumbest parts is pretty much by Daniel Wu and Maggie Q inside this ice cream truck, which by far has probably some of the dumbest fucking dialogue I've seen, like, ever, just in general. And the final fight is like so overly stylized and so cartoony to the point where you start to think that you're watching a Saturday morning, Looney Tunes special. But overall, like I said, I think if you want to see something that is very cool and very interesting, kind of well done for the most part, even though they have a very blue look to the movie, I actually really enjoyed this. If you like stuff like Bourne, if you like stuff like, if you like assassin stuff, people that kind of have a torture background like Bond or even something like that, then I think you'll get your money's worth out of here. But also there's some sexualized women in here. Some of the action scenes, as I said, they're actually quite well done. They're not overly fantastic, and towards the end of the movie, it does kind of just feel like it just ended. But overall, I enjoyed myself with this film. And if you want to see something kind of like over the top, kind of sexual, with lesbian undertones to it, then congratulations. I think you'll probably get your money's worth. But beware that this movie is not to be taken seriously, and if you can, adjust to that situation, then I think you'll probably have a fun enough time. But that's just my thought. Or you can just watch it because you're into kind of, Asians. But that's just my thought. Comment, subscribe, and like. I'm Chris Smith, and I'm signing out.